So more and more of what our economies produce and more of what they do require high levels of technological or knowledge sophistication for people to work in them. And so one of the things that schools and universities are doing are essentially bringing people's skill levels up and making sure that they are able to give people the ability to work in an advanced economy. And here is where I think a number of governments get it wrong. And I think I would put the Australian government down as one of them. The Australian government says that in order to prepare people for the knowledge economy, we have to bring them in and we have to train them in specific skills. You know, we have to give them computer coding training, and we have to give them, you know, accounting training, and, you know, really kind of specific mechanical skills. And I think that is completely wrong-headed, because in the world that you are going into, in the workforce that you are going into, you don't know what skills you will need, because your career will continue to change over time as the economy and the society that you're working in changes. And the technologies that I am using now in my work hadn't even been invented when I was your age. So to think that we should be training you in what we think are the important skills when we have no idea what the economy and society will need in 20, 30, 40 years is completely wrong-headed to me. So what should we be teaching young people like yourselves? We shouldn't be teaching you what to think, we should be teaching you how to think. That ability to be creative, that ability to look into an issue and see what the key issues are, that is something that will continue to be of enormous value into the future, whatever the technologies are, and whatever the challenges are, and whatever the social issues are. So I think that is why Woodstock School is such a just important economic benefits. And it sets you up for more than just having a wonderful and productive career, because it produces rounded citizens, and it produces people who are better able to understand the complexities of life outside of work, and to think about them and to think socially about those issues. The other reason that this is such a special place is because it brings people into a many-cultured environment. And that is something that is really important to me in my educational philosophy. I think the best thing you can do for young, growing, inquiring minds is to bring them into contact with unfamiliar perspectives. Because one of the things that psychological research shows is that human beings, if they can, will tend to be lazy in their thinking. They will fall back and rely on standard operating procedures. They will take new information and they will try and fit it into the mental frameworks already. Because it takes less time. Easier to live life. A set of mental framework to operate with, all of the sensory options and all of the experiences you have simply fit into what you already think. And I think that's one of the really dangerous things in our world today, because social media actually helps us do that. Social media weeds out the stuff that we will disagree with or that will make us uncomfortable, and it just provides us with the stuff that we are comfortable with, that we already agree with. And I think that's part of the problem and part of the reason for the growing polarisation in politics that you see in many societies. I think what we need to do as educators and what we need to engage with you in is actually providing you with perspectives and information that jolts you out of your comfort zone. And there's a complex word, highfalutin word for this called heterodoxy. Many different points of view. And it's my own personal teaching philosophy. At the University of Melbourne, we have 60-40. We've got 60% Australian citizens and 40% citizens of other countries from, I think, last count, Nathan, 120 countries from around the world in our classrooms. And to me, that is the most valuable resource that we can possibly have. And so I'm leading a university-wide project in helping our teachers use the many different cultures in their classrooms as an educational resource to provide their students with access to those heterodox perspectives on the world, on life. Because one of the things that is really important is being jolted out of ways of understanding things and thinking what they want to. How many times have we heard of someone who went in, enrolled in one degree thinking that's what they wanted to do, and they got 3 years down the track and they hated it. And they decided they wanted to go back and do another degree. Well, we're trying to help people think about that and explore a whole range of different itches that they want to scratch, that they might be interested in. And my son is going in the second year of a science degree at the University of Melbourne. He's doing exactly that. He's changed 180 degrees from what he thought he would end up doing just in the space of a single year. And I think that's a wonderful thing. And we've created these graduate schools, which is where people go on to do their graduate training, their professional training. That's where they become lawyers or engineers or doctors or physiotherapists or veterinary surgeons and so on and so forth. So that model, that 3+2 model, is very different from other universities in Australia. It encourages people to explore and then to do their professional training when they're more mature, when they really know what they want to do, when they're really passionate about what they want to do. The last thing I will say, and I know I've talked for too long, is that we involve our students in research from a very early stage. At the University of Melbourne, we have developed research precincts that bring global cutting-edge research together with teaching. So Nathan is involved with, Nathan is a medical researcher. He is involved with what we call the Parkville Precinct, which is a huge collection of hospitals, university research departments, and medical research institutes. One of which was the first institute to grow the coronavirus outside of China. So all of our medical researchers. So we've got about just over 2,000 Indian students, Indian citizenship students, but we've got many more than that from a Indian or South Asian cultural background who happen to be Australian citizens as well. Melbourne is the biggest Indian city in Australia. It is very noticeable to see people of Indian or South Asian background as you're walking around Melbourne streets, as you know. So yeah, it's and we're very keen to get more students from India as well as from around the world.
Also would like to add how University of Melbourne is one of the GO8 universities in Australia. So GO8 is actually the top 8 leading research universities in Australia, and Melbourne is one of them, and has consistently ranked amongst the top 100 in Australia. And the variety of courses that they offer, I mean, ranging from business to arts to international relations to sciences. So there are a lot of opportunities for you guys.
Are we doing like a lot of scholarship?
Yep.
opportunities in Melbourne. Could you explain like how many there are and like how they're formed or how they're structured?
So we have a range of scholarships, mainly around academic achievement, and there is such a broad variety that there are hundreds and hundreds of scholarships that you can apply for. Providing opportunities for our students and encouraging them to spend part of their degree studying in another country. Again, it's that commitment to building their experience of different cultures and different parts of the world. So he's intending to spend the first semester of next year somewhere overseas. He's not quite sure where. He and I had dinner last week. He talked about Indonesia as one possibility. He talked about Norway as another possibility. He was also talking about Canada. So there's all sorts of places that we really love to send our students, including we had a student who went and did a project in Cuba, which won an award actually. So our students, you know, that's part of the education experience that we try and encourage them to take.
When you say you get to explore before you choose what you want to study, like what's the parameter within which you can explore? Are there no restrictions?
So you enroll in one of 6 degrees. So we have the Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Design, Bachelor of Biomedicine.
Business?
Yeah, Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Fine Arts. So that's the 6. But if you choose one of those, you are required to take a quarter of the subjects that you do outside of your own faculty. So you're not allowed to do all of the subjects within the same faculty. And you can choose from any number of subjects from across the university. So a lot of people, for example, will start to study Bachelor of Arts, but then they will do a language, and they will have a language major through their degree. Quite a few people who are doing a Bachelor of Commerce will do a number of legal subjects, so they've got that legal grounding as well. But others just explore. My son is this semester is doing a subject called Going Places, Exploring Things, and it's about the educational power of travel and how to travel to get the most out of your travel, and he's just absolutely loving it. Part of their assessment is that they have to design a cultural festival in another country, and they have to, you know, present what the cultural festival would involve, what the philosophy behind it would be, which artists would be there, and so on and so forth. So he's really enjoying that, really enjoying the stimulation of it.
I'd just like to ask about the research precincts and how you'd be able to be involved in that as a student or get access to that.
So it depends which research precinct it is. So if you're doing a Bachelor of Creative Art,
or more like science.
So the science ones, the best chance to do it is sometimes as early as second year you get involved in a research project. So you'll have, say you're doing chemistry as your major. There will be a professor or a group of professors who are doing lab work, and you actually get taken into the lab, and you become part of that research. But then the other way of doing it is what my son is essentially hoping to do, which is to go and do an honours year, which is a 4th year, which is coursework but in a large personal research project, and to do it as part of a bigger lab-based study in, so the Doherty Institute for Infectious Disease. If you go into the Doherty Institute, there's lab after lab after lab, and they're all working on a different infectious disease. And your honours paper would be on an aspect of research into that infectious disease. So you contribute to the research, but you also complete your own. Countries around the world are not quite sure what to do about this, because it seems that China is so big, so powerful, so dynamic, so wealthy, and so determined that there seems to be no way of checking China's development. And so the Quad, I think, is one way of trying to put some limit on China's power. And it just so happens that there happens to be 4 liberal democracies that are broadly in the Indo-Pacific region, if you draw that region as broadly as you can. And there's a hope that this will be a balancing factor in global politics. So that as China grows more and more powerful, because no other country can hope to keep pace with China in that growth, what you do is you have a range of other countries to kind of try its power. I think that's what the Quad is about, is that somewhat China's power and similarly worried about what they're going to do about it. So does China have to be worried about this? I think China is certainly taking it very seriously. China has always had a fear of being encircled and cut off from the world. And I think the Quad is starting to play into those fears. There is a common refrain you hear coming from the Chinese government that China is being encircled, that this is a new form of NATO. But really the big play of the Quad, I think, is to try and convince other countries in the region, particularly the countries in Southeast Asia, that they need to be concerned about China as well. And herein lies the rub for the Quad, in my view. That the Quad is a form of alignment against China, to work, to be really a serious constraint on China. It will need other members to join it. And therefore, the real focus of the Quad is to try and convince other countries, particularly in Southeast Asia, that this is the right way for them to go, to have them gravitate or align more with the United States, Japan, India and Australia. The problem there is that most of the countries of Southeast Asia, with the exception of the Philippines and Thailand, have a very strong history of refusing to align with any particularly powerful country. India, for that matter, has